What if the very quality you are most proud of is the reason people ignore you, use you, and quietly lose respect for you? What if your kindness isn't making you admired, but making you predictable? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, you'll discover why some of the kindest people are treated the worst, and how a simple shift in your mindset can completely change the way others see you. Before we go any further, answer this in the comments. Have you ever been kind to someone who later took advantage of you? Type yes if you have. From childhood, we're taught that kindness is always rewarded. Help people. Be polite. Forgive quickly. Put others before yourself. These lessons sound noble, but there's a dangerous misunderstanding hidden inside them. Kindness without limits is often mistaken for weakness. The world doesn't only judge your intentions, it judges your boundaries. If you constantly give your time, your energy, your attention, and your forgiveness without expecting accountability, people slowly stop appreciating your generosity. Instead, they begin expecting it. The moment a gift becomes expected, it is no longer valued. Think about the person who is always available, always saying yes, always solving everyone else's problems, always sacrificing their own needs. At first, people praise them, then they depend on them. Eventually, they take them for granted, not because kindness is wrong, but because unlimited access destroys perceived value. Human nature responds to scarcity. We appreciate what can be lost. We protect what has limits. When you never create limits, people stop fearing the consequences of disrespecting you. That's why boundaries are not walls. They are instructions. They teach others how to treat you. If you tolerate disrespect once, you silently give permission for it to happen again. Every time you ignore your own standards to avoid conflict, you send a message. My comfort matters less than yours. People believe the messages your behavior sends far more than the words you speak. If this message is opening your eyes, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It helps spread these ideas to more people, and you'll never miss future videos designed to strengthen your mindset. Many people confuse kindness with people pleasing, but they are not the same. Kindness comes from strength. People pleasing comes from fear, fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of disappointing others. Ironically, the more desperately you seek everyone's approval, the less respect you receive. Because respect is never earned by abandoning yourself. It is earned by standing for something. The strongest individuals know when to help and when to walk away. They know when to forgive and when to end a relationship. They understand that saying no is sometimes the kindest thing they can say, both to themselves and to others. A person who cannot say no cannot truly say yes, because every yes is driven by obligation instead of choice. Real kindness has standards, it expects honesty, it requires mutual respect, it refuses manipulation. You don't have to become cold, you don't have to become selfish. You simply need to stop rewarding behavior that drains your peace. Protect your time, protect your energy, protect your dignity, because people don't just respect how kind you are, they respect what you refuse to tolerate. The moment you stop apologizing for having standards, the way people treat you begins to change. Some will leave because they benefited from your lack of boundaries. Let them. The people worth keeping will respect you even more. Remember this. Kindness is one of the greatest strengths a person can possess. But kindness without self-respect becomes self-sacrifice. Be generous, be compassionate, be understanding. But never be so eager to keep others comfortable that you abandon your own worth. The most respected person is not the one who pleases everyone. It's the one who treats others with kindness while refusing to betray themselves. If this message changed the way you think, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And never forget, your kindness becomes powerful only when it is protected by strong boundaries. Kindness is one of the most admirable qualities a person can possess, but when it exists without boundaries, it often becomes an invitation for exploitation. Many people believe that being endlessly available, always saying yes, and constantly putting others first will earn them appreciation and respect. While these actions may initially be welcomed, they can gradually create a different outcome. Instead of valuing your generosity, some people begin to see it as something they are entitled to. What was once considered an act of kindness slowly becomes an expectation, and expectations have a way of replacing gratitude. Imagine someone who never refuses a favor, always lends their time, listens to everyone's problems, and sacrifices their own needs without complaint. At first, others may praise this person's generosity and speak highly of their character. Over time, however, they begin assuming that this help will always be available. Requests become more frequent, demands become greater, and appreciation becomes less visible. If the kind person finally decides to say no, they may be labeled selfish or uncaring, not because they have changed, but because others have grown accustomed to unlimited access. Boundaries exist to protect both your well-being and the value of your kindness. They communicate that your time, energy, and emotional resources are valuable and should not be taken for granted. A healthy boundary does not reject kindness, it gives kindness purpose. When people understand that your generosity is a choice rather than an obligation, they are more likely to appreciate it and treat it with respect. Without boundaries, it becomes difficult to distinguish between those who genuinely care about you and those who simply enjoy the benefits you provide. Some individuals will continue taking as long as you continue giving, not out of malice, but because human nature often adapts to whatever is freely available. Learning to say no when necessary is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of self-respect. By protecting your limits, you teach others that kindness should be met with gratitude rather than entitlement, allowing your generosity to remain a source of strength instead of becoming a reason for others to take advantage of you. Many people believe that being liked is the same as being respected, but these two things are very different. Approval is often gained by agreeing with everyone, avoiding conflict, and constantly trying to keep others happy. Respect, however, is earned by having confidence, clear principles, and the courage to stand by them even when doing so disappoints someone. A person who is always seeking approval slowly teaches others that their opinions and decisions can be influenced simply by the desire to be accepted. Over time, this weakens the image of confidence that naturally attracts respect. When you constantly say yes, agree with every request, and avoid expressing your true thoughts, people begin to expect that behavior. They realize that you are more concerned with keeping them comfortable than with protecting your own values. This creates an imbalance in the relationship. Instead of seeing you as someone with strong standards, they begin to see you as someone who can be persuaded, pressured, or controlled. The more predictable your need for approval becomes, the easier it is for others to overlook your feelings and prioritize their own interests. Strong individuals understand that respect is not built by making everyone happy. They recognize that disagreements are a normal part of healthy relationships, and that saying no does not make someone rude or selfish. In fact, the ability to refuse unreasonable requests often increases respect because it demonstrates confidence and self-worth. People naturally admire those who know what they stand for and are willing to defend their boundaries without unnecessary aggression. This does not mean becoming arrogant, dismissive, or indifferent toward others. True strength is calm, respectful, and composed. It listens carefully, speaks honestly, and refuses to sacrifice personal values simply to gain temporary approval. When your decisions are guided by principles instead of the fear of rejection, people begin to recognize that your kindness comes from genuine character rather than a need to be liked. They understand that your generosity is a choice, not an obligation, and that your respect for yourself sets the standard for how others should treat you. Confidence combined with kindness creates lasting respect because it shows that compassion and strength can exist together without one weakening the other. One of the greatest misunderstandings about generosity is the belief that giving more automatically increases your value in the eyes of others. In reality, human nature often responds differently. When something is constantly available without effort or limitation, people gradually stop noticing its value. This is why overgiving can unintentionally lower your perceived worth. It is not because generosity is a weakness, but because unlimited availability often replaces appreciation with expectation. The more freely you give without considering your own needs, the more likely others are to assume your time, energy, and attention will always be there whenever they want them. Think about someone who is always the first to help, always answers every call, always agrees to every request, and never asks for anything in return. At first, this person is admired for their kindness and willingness to support others. However, as time passes, that generosity becomes predictable. Instead of expressing gratitude, people begin to expect the same level of commitment every time. The effort that once earned appreciation slowly becomes invisible because it is no longer seen as a special choice, but as a normal part of that person's behavior. This pattern exists in many areas of life. People tend to value opportunities, relationships, and resources that require effort or carry the possibility of loss. When access is unlimited, the sense of importance gradually fades. The same principle applies to your personal time and emotional energy. If you are always available, regardless of your own responsibilities or well-being, others may unconsciously conclude that your time is not particularly valuable. They are not necessarily trying to disrespect you. They are simply responding to the standard that has been established through repeated behavior. Healthy generosity is different from endless self-sacrifice. It allows you to help others while still protecting your own priorities and personal limits. By giving thoughtfully instead of constantly, you remind people that your support is a meaningful decision rather than an endless resource. This balance encourages gratitude instead of entitlement and strengthens the quality of your relationships. People are more likely to appreciate your kindness when they understand that it comes from genuine choice, not from an inability to refuse. In this way, generosity becomes a reflection of strength, wisdom, and self-respect rather than a habit that others quietly take for granted. Many people believe that earning respect requires endless sacrifice, constant generosity, or always putting the needs of others before their own. While these qualities may appear noble, they do not automatically inspire respect. Respect is built through standards, the personal principles and boundaries that define what you will accept and what you will refuse. Every interaction teaches people how to treat you. If you consistently tolerate dishonesty, disrespect, or unfair treatment simply to avoid conflict, you silently communicate that these behaviors are acceptable. Over time, people adjust to the standards you allow rather than the standards you wish they would follow. Imagine someone who repeatedly apologizes for things that are not their fault, accepts unreasonable demands, and ignores their own discomfort just to keep everyone else satisfied. At first, others may appreciate their willingness to compromise. Eventually, however, that willingness can become expected. Requests grow larger, respect grows smaller, and the person's kindness begins to look less like strength and more like an absence of limits. This shift rarely happens overnight. It develops gradually through small moments where personal standards are abandoned for the sake of temporary peace. Strong standards do not require aggression or hostility. They simply require consistency. When you calmly refuse to accept disrespect, decline unreasonable requests, or speak honestly about your boundaries, you demonstrate that your self-respect is not negotiable. People may not always agree with your decisions, but they learn that your values are stable and cannot be changed by pressure or guilt. This consistency creates trust because others know exactly where you stand. Sacrifice has value when it is chosen for meaningful reasons, such as helping a loved one during a difficult time or supporting an important cause. The problem arises when sacrifice becomes a habit driven by fear of rejection or the desire to gain approval. Constantly giving up your own needs sends the message that your time, energy, and well-being are less important than everyone else's. Healthy relationships are not built on one person continually sacrificing while the other continually receiving. They are built on mutual consideration, shared responsibility, and equal respect. The standards you maintain become the foundation of your reputation, shaping how others perceive your confidence, your character, and ultimately the level of respect they choose to give you. One of the greatest signs of confidence is the ability to disappoint people when it is necessary. Many individuals spend their lives trying to avoid upsetting others because they fear rejection, criticism, or conflict. They agree to requests they cannot fulfill, accept responsibilities they do not have time for, and remain silent even when they feel uncomfortable. At first, this behavior may seem kind and cooperative, but over time it often becomes a pattern of self-neglect. Every unnecessary yes comes at the cost of your own time, energy, and peace of mind. The more you ignore your own needs to satisfy everyone else, the more difficult it becomes for others to see you as someone with strong principles. Saying no is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of honesty. When you agree to something you genuinely do not want to do, simply because you are afraid of disappointing someone, your kindness is no longer a free choice. It becomes a response to fear. Fear-driven decisions weaken confidence because they place other people's opinions above your own values. In contrast, confident individuals understand that they cannot meet every expectation. They recognize that protecting their priorities sometimes requires refusing requests, setting limits, or walking away from situations that drain their energy. Disappointing others does not mean treating them with disrespect or ignoring their needs. It means accepting that not everyone will approve of your decisions and being comfortable with that reality. Some people may react negatively when you establish boundaries, because they have become accustomed to unlimited access to your time or generosity. Their disappointment is often a reflection of changed expectations rather than unfair behavior on your part. Remaining calm and respectful during these moments demonstrates emotional maturity and strengthens your sense of self-worth. When people see that your decisions are guided by principles, instead of the desire to please everyone, they begin to take your words more seriously. Your yes carries greater value because they know it is genuine, and your no earns respect because it reflects confidence rather than hostility. The courage to disappoint others when necessary protects your dignity, preserves your energy, and creates healthier relationships built on honesty instead of obligation. True confidence is not measured by how many people you satisfy, but by how faithfully you remain committed to your own values. True kindness is never meant to exist without strength. While compassion, generosity, and understanding are admirable qualities, they become far more powerful when balanced with firmness. Many people believe that being kind means agreeing with everyone, avoiding conflict, forgiving every mistake, and never saying no. In reality, kindness without firmness often encourages others to ignore your boundaries. When people realize there are no consequences for taking advantage of your generosity, some will continue pushing your limits, not because they necessarily dislike you, but because human nature often tests whatever appears unprotected. This is why the most respected individuals are not only compassionate, but also clear about what they will and will not accept. Firmness does not mean becoming cold, aggressive, or controlling. It means having the confidence to protect your values while still treating others with respect. A firm person can listen patiently, speak politely, and show empathy without surrendering their principles. They understand that helping someone should be a choice, not an obligation created by guilt or pressure. They know when to offer support, when to step back, and when to refuse requests that violate their time, energy, or personal standards. This balance prevents kindness from becoming self-sacrifice. People naturally respect consistency. When your words and actions match, others know where you stand. If you say you value honesty, you do not tolerate repeated deception. If you value your time, you do not allow others to waste it without consequence. These consistent standards communicate confidence without the need for anger or intimidation. Others learn that while you are generous and understanding, you cannot be manipulated through emotional pressure or endless demands. Balancing kindness with firmness also creates healthier relationships. Instead of attracting people who only seek to benefit from your generosity, you attract those who appreciate mutual respect and genuine cooperation. Your kindness becomes more meaningful because it is offered freely rather than expected automatically. Those around you recognize that every act of support comes from sincere intention instead of fear of disappointing them. Compassion supported by strong boundaries inspires lasting respect because it demonstrates both a caring heart and a disciplined mind. This combination allows you to remain generous without losing your confidence, your dignity, or your sense of self-worth.